Alright everyone, I want to share you a little bit of my process here for creating a page and laying one out. I've already got one section of this done, of our character Colt and our character She, sort of doing an homage to the old fastball special from the X-Men. And one of the things I love about designing a comic book page and doing the layout, and something I loved about the early stuff that Todd McFarlane did, was the way he would so often let his characters break through the panel itself. And it creates this very dynamic, more three-dimensional, action-packed sequence. So I'm going to show kind of just the process of doing that, and as I work my way through this, I hope you'll enjoy it and pick up a few things that you can use yourself. So let me move this up just a little bit, zoom in some on the panel that we're going to do. This is She, who uses electricity, which he can create an electric field and then manipulate it using the iron, well not iron, but the imperimental rods that come out of his artificial spine and out of his elbows and arms and shoulders. These were implanted during the time he was being experimented on by the Order. And he is attacking and trying to wrap around this character who is one of our villains called Numa. So I'm going to work on this a little bit at a time. Let me create a new layer, get a brush size of about 11, and start my initial inking. Now, the penciled page that I did, you can see when I scanned it in, I did that and then made that layer sort of a light pink layer that I can see through. That allows me to work on top of it with a lot of ease. Things that's very important when you're creating, particularly when you're creating a superhero type of comic, whether it's Western or manga. One of the things you really need to keep in mind, especially for people who are new to this, who are wanting to try it for the first time, is when you're designing your characters' costumes. You know, yes, you want them to be colorful, and you want them to be interesting, you want them to be dynamic. They need to look like something you want as an action figure. All those things are true, but another thing that you need to keep in mind when you're creating these designs is that if you are drawing this as a comic, you're going to have to draw these characters a lot of times in a lot of different positions, and it's very helpful to try to keep that in mind during the creation process, to make those designs interesting, but to make them simple enough that they can be reproduced again and again. You can't have so many intricate details that drawing them becomes a chore, or you can, but I wouldn't recommend that. I don't think that's the smartest way to work. I think that some of the best character designs that we've ever seen in comics are often some of the simplest ones. You look at the early Marvel characters, the original Avenger characters, things like that. None of those costumes, as iconic as they are, none of those costumes are incredibly complex costumes. The original Captain America design, the original Spider-Man design is not something that's incredibly hard to draw and reproduce. And that's smart. These guys knew what they were doing. They knew the type of time crunch they were working with, and they worked within those limitations. I think it's just smart to try to create characters that you can draw quickly and accurately. In a variety of different scenarios. So, in speaking about costumes, when I designed the costume for She, who is the character that is attacking, this family's been thrown at the villain, at Numa. She is a former Chinese nationalist. He was a teen soldier, basically, and his augmentation required the replacement of his spine with an imperimetal spine. The details of what that substance is, where it comes from, all of that stuff is part of the story, so I don't want to spoil any of that. That's part of the interesting stuff that you find out by reading the comic. But as I said before, he can create and direct lightning and electricity. So when I was designing his costume, one of the things I did for inspiration was look up, what do the people who work with these high voltage electricity and those kinds of situations, what do they wear for protection? Because he would need something similar, and not just to protect himself, but to protect the people on his team that are around him. So his design is based partially on that. It is also based around this idea of when you see people operating with Tesla coils, a lot of times they wear what looks a lot like a chainmail, and it allows them to play with the electricity and let it dance all around their fingers and between their hands without electrocuting them. And that is sort of where I put what I used for his hood and for his gloves to help him direct the lightning in the way that he wants it to go. So always a good pro tip when you're working with anything like this, save regularly. You don't want to do a lot of work, get in the zone, you're really dialed in, you're doing great work, and then somehow something crashes and and you lose all of that. It's the last thing you want. So for anybody who's curious about what I'm using, I'm drawing in Photoshop on a MacBook. It's a fairly old MacBook actually, but I know there are other programs that people like for drawing. I've used some other ones. It's just Photoshop is what I spent most of my time with. It's what I'm used to, so it tends to be what I use. It's not to say that there aren't better programs out there. I'm sure that there are. This is what works for me. Hooked up to my Huion monitor, which allows me to draw directly on the surface, just like a really big iPad. With my pen, so of course I start with a pencil sketch and then typically go to computer with it after that. All right. So within the context of this page, we're going to be bursting out of the panels quite a bit for this action. We got a big explosion coming down here. That's going to be a blast, literally, to draw. I hope you guys are having a great day. Check out GodfreyUniverse.com, join our mailing list. Check out LegacyComics.com, that's Legacy Comics with an X. And you can purchase the issue 0 Ashcan for Apollyon 20XX. That's the first title in the Godfrey universe. If you go to the website, to the www.godfreyuniverse.com, you'll find short films, you'll find a series of stories and poems and things and art called The Lamentations. It's over 80 pages of awesome, esoteric, lore-related things for the Apollyon universe. If you go to Legacy Comics, not only will you find our comics, you will find several other really awesome titles. Support your local comic book writers, support your indie comic book creators, and we will send you awesome things for the rest of your life. Help us make this dream a reality. Check out those sites, and we will talk to you soon.